There was a time when God made a great promise to Abraham. God told Abraham that he would become the father of a great nation, and that through his family, blessing would come to many people. But years passed. Abraham and his wife Sarah grew older, and they still had no child. Sarah began to wonder, how can God's promise come true when I am already so old? Sometimes when we wait for God, our faith becomes weak. We begin to think, maybe God needs my help. Sarah had an Egyptian servant named Hagar. Sarah decided to give Hagar to Abraham so that Hagar could have a child for the family. Abraham agreed. Hagar became pregnant and she gave birth to a son named Ishmael. But after Hagar became pregnant, the relationship between Hagar and Sarah became painful. Hagar looked at Sarah differently, and Sarah became angry and treated Hagar harshly. Hagar could not bear it anymore, so she ran away into the wilderness. Imagine Hagar, alone, pregnant, rejected, and afraid. She had no idea what would happen next. But then something amazing happened. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the wilderness, and God spoke to her. He told her that he had heard her suffering and that he had a plan for her son. Hagar realized something powerful. God had seen her. She called him El Roi, meaning the God who sees me. Think about that. Hagar was not a queen. She was not famous. She was a servant who had been rejected and was sitting alone in the wilderness. But God saw her, and God sees you too. There may be moments when you feel forgotten. You may feel like nobody understands your pain. You may pray and wonder why God has not answered yet. But the story of Hagar reminds us, God sees the person whom everyone else overlooks. Hagar returned, and Ishmael was born. Years later, God fulfilled his promise to Abraham and Sarah. Sarah became pregnant, even though she was very old. She gave birth to a son, and they named him Isaac. Isaac was the child God had promised. Sarah was filled with joy. But another difficult situation came. One day, Sarah saw Ishmael, Hagar's son, and became concerned about him receiving an inheritance with Isaac. Sarah told Abraham to send Hagar and Ishmael away. Abraham was deeply troubled, but God told Abraham that he would take care of Ishmael and that a great nation would come from him. So Abraham gave Hagar bread and water and sent her away with Ishmael. Hagar wandered in the wilderness. Soon the water was gone. She became desperate. She placed Ishmael under a bush and walked away because she could not bear to watch her son die. She sat at a distance and cried, but once again, God heard her. The Bible tells us that God heard the boy crying. Then the angel of God called to Hagar and said not to be afraid. God opened her eyes and she saw a well of water. Hagar filled her container with water and gave it to Ishmael. God was with the boy. Ishmael grew, and God blessed him. What a powerful message. Hagar's story began with rejection, pain, and loneliness. But it did not end there. God saw her. God heard her. God provided for her. And God stayed with her son. This story also teaches us something about Abraham and Sarah. They tried to accomplish God's promise through their own plans. And sometimes we do the same thing. God gives us a promise, but when the waiting becomes difficult, we try to control everything ourselves. We become impatient. We make decisions out of fear. And sometimes our decisions create pain for ourselves and for others. But even when people make mistakes, God does not stop being God. He remains faithful. The story of Hagar does not mean that every painful situation will immediately disappear. It means that God is present in the wilderness. He is present when you are rejected. He is present when you are waiting. He is present when you are crying. He is present when you don't know where your next provision will come from. And just as God opened Hagar's eyes to see the well, sometimes God provides something that was already near us, but we could not see it because our fear was overwhelming us. So today, remember 3 things. First, God sees you. You are not invisible to Him. Second, God hears you. Your tears and prayers are not meaningless. Third, God can provide for you even in the wilderness. You may not know what tomorrow will bring. You may not understand why you are waiting, but you can trust the God who saw Hagar, heard Ishmael, and remained faithful to Abraham and Sarah. Your wilderness is not the end of your story. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep walking with God. Because when you cannot see the way forward, the God who sees you already sees the way. And when you feel alone, remember the words of Hagar. You are the God who sees me. Amen.